Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the biggest financial decisions you'll probably ever make, buying or selling a home. We're going to turn all that complex legal jargon and those hidden costs into a clear, simple guide.
I mean, it's a huge deal, right? It's one of the biggest financial moves you'll ever make. And with so many moving parts, it can definitely feel, well, a little overwhelming. To navigate this pretty complex journey, you're almost certainly going to work with a real estate agent. They're supposed to be your guide, but it's so important to understand what that relationship legally means for you. So, what are the actual rules of the road? Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first, let's get the language right, because in the world of real estate, certain words have very specific legal meanings that can dramatically change your entire journey.
Here's the deal. Everyone involved in a real estate transaction falls into one of two buckets when it comes to a brokerage. You're either a client or you're a customer. And believe me, the choice between those two roles completely changes your rights and what an agent is legally required to do for you.
So this brings us to what might be the single most important question you need to answer. Are you a client or are you just a customer? The answer to that determines the entire level of service and legal protection you're actually going to get. Think of it like this. As a client, you literally have a champion in your corner. The brokerage has a legal duty to advocate for you and act in your absolute best interest. But as a customer, you're more or less on your own. Sure, the brokerage can assist you and they have to be honest and fair, but their ultimate loyalty, that lies with their client, not with you. And this right here, this is the absolute game changer. When you become a client, the brokerage owes you what's called a fiduciary duty. It's a powerful set of legal obligations built on trust, which basically means they have to put your interests above their own. So what does this fiduciary duty actually look like in practice? Well, it means your agent has to be completely loyal, always putting your interests first. Period. They have to avoid conflicts of interest, they have to keep your personal information totally confidential, and they have to be accountable for all the documents and money. These are powerful protections that a customer simply does not get. So how do you make this powerful client relationship official? Well, it all comes down to signing a written agreement. If you're selling, it's called a seller representation agreement, but you'll probably hear it called a listing agreement. If you're buying, it's a buyer representation agreement. These are legally binding documents, and they spell out everything: the services, the commission, and exactly how long you'll be working together. But it is so crucial to read these agreements carefully. One of the most misunderstood clauses is something called the holdover period. And why does this matter? Because it could cost you a full commission. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars, even after your contract with an agent has expired. Here's how it works. Let's say your agent shows your home to a potential buyer, but your agreement expires. A little while later, you decide not to relist. Then, you sell the home privately to that very same buyer within the holdover period, which is often around 90 days. Well, guess what? You could still owe the original brokerage their full commission. It's a clause designed to protect the work the agent has already put in. All right, so you've got your guide, you've signed an agreement, and now you're entering the negotiation arena. And in this arena, the market makes the rules. See, every real estate deal happens in one of three market types, and the balance of power shifts dramatically with each one. In a seller's market, buyers are everywhere and homes are scarce, which gives sellers the upper hand. In a buyer's market, the tables are totally turned. And in a balanced market, it's a much more even playing field. And that balance of power directly impacts your strategy. In a seller's market, buyers have to be ready to act fast and be aggressive, often throwing in their best price with very few or even zero conditions. But in a buyer's market, buyers have the leverage. They can take their time, negotiate on price, and include protective conditions like a home inspection. Okay, you did it. You navigated the offer. You have an accepted deal. Congratulations. But you are not at the finish line just yet. Let's talk about the final hurdle: closing costs. For sellers, the commission is usually the single biggest expense. But you can't forget to budget for legal fees, moving costs, and potentially a really hefty mortgage discharge penalty if you're breaking your term early. Trust me, these can add up fast. And for you buyers, your down payment is just the beginning. You'll also need to cover legal fees, a home inspection, and the big one, land transfer tax. This can be a significant and often surprising expense depending on where you're buying. So, if there's one single thing to take away from all this, it's that in real estate, being informed is your absolute best protection. Whether you're buying or selling,
Understanding the process, the key players, and all those costs is truly your greatest asset. For now that you know the critical difference between a client and a customer, now that you know to read the fine print for clauses like the holdover period, and now that you get how the market dictates strategy, you're not just a participant anymore. You're an informed player, and you're ready to make the best possible decision.